It's my lucky day. It's my lucky day. It's my lucky day. My lucky day. Don't need a pot of gold.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to episode 54 of Coffee and Cloud Native. My name is Adrian Goins, and every night I and my army of bots scour the internet for news and content related to Kubernetes and Cloud Native, and every morning I'm here with my cup of coffee and WifeBot and technology that sometimes works, and all of you, so that I can share with you the things that I find interesting. It's a curated list of content. I go through around 200 submissions every night, and I only select a handful of them for the next day's show. These are the tools that I would use or might use or things that I find interesting, and I'm super happy to share them with you. If you're watching live on Twitch, please click the follow button for the channel, and if you're watching in the future, please click the thumbs up button so that the YouTube algorithm shares the video with other people. You can join the community site. In fact, let me start that little news crawler so you can see where that goes. Links to that are in the video description or cruising along the bottom here. There is live chat that happens in Twitch or in Discord, and there's this cool little bot that relays back and forth between them. So come hang out with us, either during the show or after the show or anytime during the day. The Discord server is always open, and we're always talking about something there. In fact, let's see who we've got in the chat. Good morning to Ian. Hey, Trix. Well, Sky is here. Good morning. Okay, so yesterday I had this thing with Discord where, for those of you who are on Discord, you may not be aware that on individual servers, if you right-click the server icon, you can change your nickname on the server. So if you don't want to be, whatever your gamer tag is, and you'd like to change your name to the same name that you use in the community, or to something that doesn't make me go, good morning, Gezb. You can do that. So that's how WifeBot's WifeBot, and I'm Adrian, but on other places I'm Monakis, and so on. Good morning, Duck. Good morning, Ellibot. Wojtek, cześć. Vito. All right, got lots of people here this morning. Bright and sunny. Thank you all for joining me. Let's get started. Let's scroll to the top of this. Do you guys know Geerling Guy? Even if you don't know who he is, I guarantee you've encountered him somewhere. You've either used one of his container images or one of his Ansible roles or something. He apparently tried to create a 50,000 Kubernetes jobs for 50,000 subscribers project that fell flat on its face. And he opened up this issue that says, well, Kubernetes won't run 50,000 jobs. Okay. It's an interesting ticket where he's talking back and forth with the maintainers of whatever particular, what SIG is this? Scheduling. Okay, so he's talking with the maintainers of the scheduling component about the experience that he had. Let's go down to these graphs. He determined through a bunch of different testing that if you just load up 50,000 jobs, it basically chokes at somewhere between 3,000 and 5,000. It's not in the scheduling. It looks like it's in the garbage collection, where there's something that comes by and cleans up old jobs. Duck says, some people don't take at scale seriously. You know what? That's true. If you're... Oh my gosh. Time out for a second. If you're new to the show, you probably don't understand what's going on here. How do I get out of this? You get over here. At scale is one of those ridiculous buzzword bingo phrases that you see in stuff talking about Kubernetes and Cloud Native. So, anytime you see the word at scale in anybody's stuff, just replace it in your mind with in your pants. And whatever they're writing about becomes much, much, much funnier. Now back to the grown-up part of the program. So yes, Geerling Guy was trying to run a bunch of Kubernetes jobs at scale and found out that after 3,000 or 4,000 of them, everything just fell apart. So anyway, there's some back and forth stuff here talking about how scheduling actually works, which is the relevant point of the article. What piece The chat is being... Nuno's not even in the chat to distract me. I'm already distracted. Nuno, where are you? He runs it on a Linode cluster, and he also runs it in a Kind cluster locally on his laptop. Apparently, he overheated his laptop and had to buy like an external cooling fan for it. And they don't have a resolution. But keep your eye on the ticket because it's actively being active. And it's a good intro into how scheduling a garbage collection works. Once again, the internet, the universal unconscious of whatever it is that we're all tapped into, surfaced this yesterday. Something I was going to talk about yesterday before I scrapped it and decided to do the entire show on Devin's Kate's at Home project, on the Kate's at Home project that Devin participates in. It's not his project. I was going to talk about Armada. And I didn't, and then the other ticket popped up. So here we go. You come out of Kubernetes won't run 50,000 jobs to G Research. Interesting name. Should be like OG Research. Yo, what's up, Holmes? They built a tool called Armada that allows them to run millions of batch jobs over thousands of compute nodes using Kubernetes. If either of you guys are watching, either Jeff Geerling or Armada folks, G Research, you guys should talk to each other because G Research encountered problems with large quantities of job scheduling in Kubernetes, and they wrote a tool that works around it. If you've seen Fleet, let me pull up a quick Fleet thing here. Fleet is for GitOps and uses an external controller cluster to pull in stuff from external repos and convert everything into a Helm chart, and then downstream cluster groups pull from the Fleet controller, and this is how Fleet operates at scale. Armada is not for GitOps. Armada is just for jobs, but it uses a similar model. And the model here is that there's an external Armada server that's responsible for handling job input and then job distribution, and it does fair queuing. But what's cool about this is in the Fleet example, you have different cluster groups that represent where you need lots of applications deployed. So you might have 50 Kubernetes clusters over here that need application A and 100 Kubernetes clusters over there that need application B. Armada is executing jobs. So I don't know what their jobs are, what G Research's jobs are, but they're executing jobs. They just need these things to go out and be executed. So they can either connect multiple clusters to handle those jobs, or if a particular cluster is optimized for a certain type of job, they can scale up the number of nodes in that cluster. And they can do all of this on the fly. They can pull clusters out, assuming that they have like a drain component that waits until the jobs that they're executing are finished. They don't specifically say if they use different clusters with different labels to serve different types of jobs, but that's the only reason that I can think of that you would need to scale up the number of nodes in a cluster independent from adding more clusters. Some sort of congestion on GPU, or I don't know, this cluster has magic fairy dust sprinkled in it that makes it do stuff better. They open sourced Armada. So Jeff, if you just go run Armada, you'll get your 50,000 jobs. Let me scroll back up to the top of that. That'll be more relevant. You'll get your 50,000 jobs. Great. Okay, welcome to the Grown Up Show. King Philip II of Spain operated his Armada at scale in 1588. I'm sure we have many descendants of the royal lineage to credit him for. Traefik is hacking. Traefik is having a hackathon, which I thought was really cute. Nobody knows how to pronounce Traefik. It's easiest to just say traffic, which is fine. But it's like in the word aesthetics. It's not Traefik, it's not Traefik, it's Traefik. So they're having a hackathon about middleware plugins. I like the idea of hackathons. The best hackathons are where people get together and they work on solving problems for a project that they care about. And then out of that, awards are given, and the whole community helps move a particular project forward. When you're dealing with an open source project, such as Traefik, I mean, obviously they have an enterprise version, but a lot of what Traefik makes available to us is free for us to use. I'm not a developer, so I don't want to sound like a hypocrite and be like, go do this. Like, if there was something else that I could do for Traefik, I am actually a Traefik ambassador. So I'm just going to promote this. If you're a developer and you like Traefik and you like the middleware plugins, their middleware stuff is really cool. It allows you to chain things together so that you can have plugins that you can swap in and out to do different things, and then you can do mutations and various things to the traffic as it goes through the load balancer. I almost said ingress controller, but it's so much more than that. Well, they have a bunch of issues that are just kind of sitting out there that some people would like, but that they themselves aren't able to prioritize because they're working on other stuff. This is running from October 20th to the 22nd. It's their very first hackathon. And here are some examples with issue references of things that people could work on. If there's something here that you'd like to see, if you have the development chops, or if you know people who do and you want to get together and participate in this, well, it's happening. So what sort of stuff here? Enhanced retry and back off. That sounds good. Custom response code overrides. That sounds niche. CDN allow list. CDNs publish their IP addresses from consumable public resources. When hosting a particular resource that should only be accessible from the CDN for cache fronting reasons, it's logical that users want to block any request that does not originate from an IP address published on that list. Okay, I can see that. Basic auth overrides, rate limiting enhancements, response header redirect, broccoli compression. I read that as broccoli. Can we get some broccoli compression over here, please? It's already been implemented as a PR to Traefik. However, the licensing model on one of the dependencies prevented it from being merged. This compression middleware would be relatively straightforward to implement as a plugin. So they've got a bunch of stuff going on. And it would be great. Oh, OPA agent. Yeah, that'd be cool. It'd be great if you're watching the show and you're a developer and you want to go help out, go help out. And what are they giving away? Awards, bounties, and prizes. Let's see if we can follow that link to something that's a little bit more detailed. Thank you for the broccoli, wifebot. Multiple $100 gift card bounties for plugins and grand prizes of $500, $250, and $100. Yeah, go. Even if you're a new developer and you don't... The thing about hackathons is they're designed for everybody to participate. So if you're a relatively inexperienced developer, but you want to get more involved in open source, these things are a great way to get started. You can hook up with a team. That has nothing to do with at scale. You can join a team. You can join a team, and the people that you participate with will be willing to help you, and it's a great way to learn. It's just a great way to participate, and they tend to be very, very fun. I've been to many things that Traefik does. They're a great bunch of people. Okay. A month ago, I announced that Nginx was coming out with a service mesh. And, well, they came out with a service mesh. And if you watch the show, you remember that I was talking about, when's my mom coming out with a service mesh? My mom is still working on her service mesh. She works on that when she's not working on crafting. My mom has a big Etsy shop. If any of you are into cool custom crafty things, especially with holidays coming up, send me a direct message and I'll point you to my mom's Etsy store where she makes adorable little squishy doll things and gnomes and stuff. Anyway, sorry. She's also working on a service mesh. Not really. Nginx came out with a service mesh, and initially I was like, meh. But then I read their article. Not only did Nginx come out with a service mesh, Nginx came out with a trash-talking service mesh. NSM provides a turnkey, secure, service-to-service solution for container traffic management with a unified blah 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 for this and that and the other. With production-grade capabilities, NSM stands apart from the current glut of packet-pushing proxies on the market. I don't know. I think if you're new to a particular environment, you probably shouldn't walk in there and kick people in, you know. It got my attention. I'm like, all right, so let's see if let's see if you can put your money where your boots are. Great. So you want to talk about a little more trash talking? It supports VMware Kubernetes clusters, native clusters, not PKS clusters. PKS clusters aren't real, and we don't support them. That's fine. I don't like PKS either. It looks like it's got some cool features. Their whole premise is that they custom built the data plane and that they're not just built on top of Envoy. Envoy is a great thing. Envoy is a wonderful solution and used by a lot of service meshes, and I don't think that's a bad thing. In fact, Envoy is proven. So controllers built on top of Envoy to make Envoy's features more accessible and to do the amazingness that Envoy does, I don't think that's bad. And I would prefer to go with that than to go with something that, you know, a bunch of dudes just put together and said, yeah, we know more than you do. Even if they're Nginx, still. But you can't look at it. Nope. You want to go look at it? You want to see if they're actually able to do what they say? Go get an F5 login. Moving on. Nginx released a service mesh. Whatever. I've been seeing a lot of stuff about GitHub Actions lately, and that's cool. GitHub Actions, by default, runs jobs out in their environment, but you can also run them in your own environments. But by default, two defaults. If you're going to run jobs in your own environment, they expect you to have a runner on a virtual machine. So here, from Summerwind, Fairwind, SolarWinds. Summerwind is a nice name. It kind of makes me, you know, it's like, oh, it's... Vito just posted a link in the chat. Vito, did you share this with me? Did I get this from you? Because that looks remarkably familiar. All right, we're going to go click Vito's link. This is a link on Vito's blog. Let's zoom that in a little bit. Oh, that's really big. Okay. So he's been hosting a self-hosted runner for GitHub Actions for a while now. And he was using a dedicated VPS. Okay, so that makes sense. That's the virtual machine thing I was just talking about a moment ago. But now he's leveraging some spare capacity in his Kubernetes cluster to build and deploy and test Dynablogger. So he has a solution here about building and deploying this. Okay, so not using the controller that I was just about to talk about. That's cool. If you want to roll your own, here's a step-by-step guide on how to do it. Vito, you should really share these things with me before the show, and I can be more prepared. Otherwise, here's a controller from Summerwind that also helps you set it up in a Kubernetes cluster. This walks through setting up all of the personal access tokens and then actually deploying and running it and how to wire it back into GitHub to make it actually run. OneDrop says he runs Actions Runner Controller in his home lab. Uh-oh. Do we lose video? No, we didn't lose video. No, we're still good. Okay, so yeah. Ian, refresh. Woohoo! Okay, I like that. I like when somebody says, "Do we lose video?" and everyone's like, "No, it's still great." Yeah, I'm still streaming. It's still looking delicious. Okay, moving on. Oh, let's scroll this back up. Periodically, I talk about things that pull from external sources and create Kubernetes secrets. So you can pull from like Vault or what does this one talk to? Amazon Secrets Manager, Amazon Service Mesh, AWS Secrets Manager. The ones that I've had on the show before have always been a little bit clunkier, But I mean, they're still fine solutions. They're built by independent people to solve problems that they've encountered. This came to my attention a couple of days ago and is built by GoDaddy. Did you know that a number of people who started Rancher came from GoDaddy? That's why the main development office is in Arizona. There's a lot of smart people at GoDaddy doing a lot of really smart things. So I saw this and I said, okay, let's take a look. This is designed to pull from external. Oh, there was one that I had on the show that said that it pulls from AWS, Vault, and something else, but it currently only supports AWS. Or it's like, well, then it doesn't do the other two things. This one does pull from multiple external sources. In the example, they show you how to set it up with AWS Secrets Manager, but it'll also work with HashiCorp Vault, and they have a blog article. Ooh, the GoDaddy engineering blog. GoDaddy is a ridiculous name. Should have called it like Who's Your Daddy? Who's Your Daddy domain registrations. So we got a blog. One of the things that really irks me is when people don't put dates on their blogs. Have you noticed that they've started doing that a lot this year? The reason that they do that is because what's the first thing you do? You go to a blog, you look at the date to find out if it's relevant. Because if it's more than 6 months old, it's probably not relevant. When you see stuff that's old, well, you just, you go somewhere else. By removing dates, they're trying to pretend that their stuff is more relevant. But it's not the date that makes it relevant. It's the content. So maybe if the content stays relevant, I don't know. I get really annoyed when I see blog articles with no dates. I even scroll down to the bottom and I was like, is there a date at the bottom? There's not a date at the bottom. This one we know is a little bit more relevant. So yeah, so this talks about some of the stuff going on behind it and is basically a rehash of the README. Let's go back over here. Once you've wired your cluster to your external secrets manager, then you can tell it what is its quest. What is its favorite color? You can tell it to go, so you tell your Kubernetes cluster, go get the external secret from over there. And all of the glue is in place and it goes out, gets it, and then creates a secret inside of the cluster that you can then use in your workloads. And then it maintains that. So when it gets updated out here, it doesn't say how long it takes for it to refresh, but at some point it will refresh. In fact, this is kind of funny. Apply it, and then wait a few minutes and verify the associated secret has been created. I'm hoping that that's not actually a few minutes. If so, they should probably work on the timing loop there. Because this is the world we live in. We don't wait a few minutes for things anymore. Other than that, it looks fine. It'll talk to ASM, and it'll talk to Vault, and it will talk to AWS System Manager, Azure Key Vault, Google Secret Manager, and Alibaba Cloud KMS Secret Manager. I should tell my mom to start working on a secret manager too. My mom's really good at keeping secrets. For every single one of these things, they give you the step-by-step configuration of how to... How is it the top of the hour again? Step-by-step configuration for how to deploy this. Oh my gosh. Okay, that's their blog. Before we jump over to the tool of the day, I want to bring up this. I am not a lawyer. However, I think this is probably going to be very bad. Great news! Our broad patent covering dynamic workload placement has been issued by the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office. This app covers a variety of traffic-aware scenarios where workloads can be shifted between managed Kubernetes clusters deployed across cloud and edge environments. Does that sound like anything that probably there's already prior art for, or anything that isn't going to immediately turn into a whole mess of licensing litigation? Unable to contain my snark, I responded with, let the infringement lawsuits begin. Because anybody who comes out and says, our broad patent was issued. I went and looked at it. Oh my gosh. A system is provided to manage operation of workloads over a workload placement network comprising a user interface that indicates locations, a data storage device storing those locations, a workload placement manager to determine placement of workloads at clusters based at least part based at least in part upon cluster locations and cluster resource utilization, wherein the clusters include metrics collector instances to collect information indicating cluster resource utilization and send the collected information over the workload placement network to the orchestration manager. They can't even type their patent abstract correctly. That sounds like Kubernetes, Prometheus, and scheduling. We need an Internet A team. I'm telling you. I've been saying it for years. We need B.A. Baracus being like, I pity the fool to patent some stuff that already exists. Ooh. And then they puff their chests out and march around and be like, yeah, because they know they just scored. They're going to get paid until B.A. kicks the door in. Oh, it makes me mad. It makes me really mad. Today's tool of the day is Kubecost. We talked about Kubecost a couple of days ago, and I'm bringing it back on because they just had a masterclass with Rancher, so you can get that on demand, and in a month or so it'll be available as a public video on YouTube. So they did a whole walkthrough of the Kubecost platform, and I've been seeing that they've been popping up, as people are talking about the masterclass, and where's the masterclass? It probably rolled off already, but just in case it didn't, rancher.com/events, and online meetups. Rancher. Yeah, it rolled off. They published an update to the site yesterday. Sorry. Anyway. Oh, wait, maybe it was masterclasses. Resources. Kubernetes masterclasses. Maybe it's still here. No. Past trainings. Yay! You can view the recording. Okay, so if you go to rancher.com and then go to the Kubernetes masterclass, you can find it there. If you click if you're recording, you just, give them your email address and you can go watch it. It's designed to run in your Kubernetes environment and to tell you where you're wasting money. And since I believe that all cloud providers are making their profit off of our inability to accurately gauge how much stuff we need, I went and actually deployed it in my Kubernetes cluster in DigitalOcean. I was talking with Steve Jagger yesterday about the good and bad of using DigitalOcean's Kubernetes service and how even that there's bad things. And it was funny because we get on this call and I'm like, yeah, let me show you my DigitalOcean cluster. And I go and I like show him Rancher and it's like, one of your nodes is down. I was like, oh, well, there's DigitalOcean for you. One of the nodes is down. He's like, well, how do you handle that? I said, well, you go to their cloud thing and you power cycle it because usually it's fine. And if you power cycle it and there's still a problem, then you can go and actually do troubleshooting. But God forbid you ever try and contact their support. But we were talking about pricing. And I said that even with my overbuilt DigitalOcean cluster, it still costs me less than running on Amazon. So I put Kubecost out there last night, and I'll show it to you in a second. And there's an interesting thing. In fact, let me just show it to you now. Let me port forward this again so that I can connect to it. Okay, port forwarding, done. And let me go back to the browser, and let me come over here, and let me refresh. First thing about Kubecost is it appears to get its pricing information based on utilization of AWS. It doesn't know that I'm running in DigitalOcean. I pay about $160. Hey, Beer Native, that's Steve. Hey, you're welcome. So check this out. When I was telling you yesterday, he's in the chat. When I was telling you yesterday that it costs me less to run in DigitalOcean than it does in Amazon, I pay about $160 a month for an overbuilt 3-node cluster. I've got a bunch of extra capacity on it, as you can see here, with this big red underutilized compute thing. But to run the same cluster in Amazon would cost me almost $400. So DigitalOcean, despite the fact that occasionally a node just and it has to be kicked, is fine. I'm not running anything super production-y there. And Steve even had this insight that DigitalOcean's entire marketing pitch is that they're Kubernetes for developers. They're resources and hosting and stuff like that for developers. They don't really say that they're a production environment where you should put your stuff. I don't even know what their SLA is, but it works well enough. If any of you are new to DigitalOcean, look in the description of any one of my videos and you'll see a link there where if you register under that link, you'll get some credit, I'll get some credit, and that'll be great because my cluster it's a little expensive. I Otherwise, if we look through what Kubecost gives us, let's look at, so I've been only running it for about 12 hours, and you see it's starting to flatline. So it thinks my cluster costs $400 a month. Cost allocation, what do we got under there? Monthly savings of $166 identified. It's not exactly accurate. And here they show you namespace and then what their estimated CPU and memory cost is for the resources running inside of that namespace. Make this a little bit bigger for you. There we go. So you can right away see who's using the most resources and who's not. Oh, interesting. If there was a network cost, I could add that. If we come to the savings tab, the biggest thing that it thinks I could do. Okay, so Vito just said this would be super useful with large clusters. Yes, I'm not saying that Kubecost is doing anything wrong. I want to actually show you the kind of information that it's giving you, because if you're running in AWS or GKE or the places where they're actually able to pull their cost information, it'll tell you where you can save money without moving to DigitalOcean. And it's a little bit gimpy. So Kubecost folks, if you're watching this, things like saving /undefined. Like that doesn't give me a lot of confidence. But whatever, you're new. Node checks. I don't know why these failed. But okay. So yeah, do not drain. Removing node would put cluster above utilization request threshold. Okay, so it's looking at requests and limits and making decisions based upon that. Here's another slightly gimpy thing. It complains that its own Grafana is using local storage. Well, that's your application. It's got a lot of really cool information and a lot of really actionable information, and I may even go back through and take a couple of my nodes and scale them down to lower capacity because I can probably save 20 or 30 bucks a month, not the 160 or whatever that it thinks I can save. These checks, they were a little confusing at first. You see, I see red and I'm like, oh my gosh, like why are all these things crash looping? No, the status over here is what matters. Popped up an alert that my worker nodes are not spread across multiple failure zones. That's correct. I can actually hide that alert because I don't care. Cluster does not have replicated masters. Yeah, okay, that's DigitalOcean. I'm gonna hide that too. And then CPU throttling detected, I thought was interesting. And it appears that the DigitalOcean node agents are trying to use more resources than are allocated to them. And this one particular OpenFast function that I use actually is it's horribly inefficient. That was good information. I can go and fix that. Kubecost has a free tier. Let's see, come back over here, pricing. They have a free tier. So one cluster, no size limit, and then 15 days on-site metric retention. It's going to create a couple of persistent volumes of 32 gigabytes for it to store the Prometheus data. And I looked at scaling those down, but it's sized specifically to support 6,000 metrics. So basically 15 days of metric data, and then it automatically rotates off. Depending on how much that costs, if it's 10 cents per gigabyte, then you're looking at $3.20 times 2 plus a couple more. So it's going to cost you $6 to $8 to run it in your cluster. But if it saves you more than $6 or $8, that's fine. You could also deploy it, get some information, delete it, deploy it in a different cluster because you're allowed to run one cluster. And there you go. They might be smart enough to detect that, but it doesn't say you can't. So that's Kubecost. And I'm going to run it for a few days and see if it gives me... See if it stops making me feel bad. My health score is fair. My health score is good. Fair. And that's it. Yay, we're over time. I don't know why I can't do a 30-minute show. I have so much that I want to talk about. I didn't even get to talk about things like, oh my gosh, I'm going to talk about this tomorrow. I posted it in the chat yesterday. And we got some cool stuff from Sysdig coming up, and I'm going to take that off the screen. Otherwise, you'll cheat and you'll go and look in advance. So let's get out of here. We all got work to do, right? Real jobs and stuff like that. I don't know why I say it's a 30-minute show. Is there a pop quiz after this? No, I love you guys. I love just looking over at the chat and like there's just so much randomness going on. So great. Yeah, hi. If you liked what you saw today, please give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Follow me on Twitch to get notifications when I start streaming. Join the chat. Join the community site. You know, right there, being rolling over the top of my subscribe link. I'm gonna have to move that up. Community members get access to the links in the video replay a day before the rest of the internet. Membership to the community site is free, and the community is growing every single day. If you have something that you would like for me to consider for the show, hit me up and let me know. You can mention me in a post on the community site. You can ping me on Discord or Twitter, or just don't show up outside my door. I want to thank you all for coming today. Tomorrow, I have to get up at 3-something in the morning. I've got to take WifeBot somewhere so that she can go to Santiago tomorrow. So WifeBot won't be joining us. I will probably be dead for the show tomorrow, but I'm just going to drink lots of coffee. So I'll either be dead or I'll be super animated, but I look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Have a great day. Keep learning. Thank you for hanging out. I talk way too much. I will see you in the next show.